Nobunaga's Ambition: Sphere of Influence is the 14th title in the series, and the 4th to be released in the US. It's also the first to be released on PC in the US. The game is a grand strategy, similar to Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but set in Japan during the Sengoku period. If you've ever fantasized about being Nobunaga Oda and taking over Japan through force, then this may be your game. The game starts you off by letting you choose between different clans. The clans available depends on what time period you choose from. Each scenario takes place during a different time in the Sengoku period. You can start at the beginning, when Nobunaga was first born, or after his death, when Ieyasu Tokugawa emerged to attempt what Nobunaga could not finish. Regardless of what scenario you pick, the game plays out in largely the same manner. The map is quite big. There's a lot of territory available for you to take over. That means that any attempt to do a complete playthrough and win the game is going to take a lot of time. A conservative estimate would be anywhere from 60 to a few hundred hours. The gameplay takes place in a few different modes. The first is Monthly Council. You decide on actions that you'll take for the month. This can be assigning city development, building structures, diplomacy, or readying your armies for war. It's not the most complex system I've ever seen, so it's pretty easy to figure out what you need to do. The game also gives you a lot of help through advisors and tips. Once you've decided on your actions for the month, you begin Active Mode. This allows time to pass, and for the armies of each clan to move in real time. This is where everything that you chose to do during the council will take place. You can move your armies to attack other clans and siege their cities. This is also when your structures will be built. The next mode happens when you choose to battle with the enemy. Combat can either take place on the map or in an instanced battle similar to battles in the Total War series. Controls are like a simple, real-time strategy. You choose a unit and tell them to move or attack. Each unit can have different tactical abilities depending on what your officers have. You can also direct your units to attack the city gates if the battle is taking place near one. The way that you take over cities is by sending your units to them on the campaign map and surrounding them. Capturing can only occur when the HP of the city is lower than the amount of conscripts in the sieging army. You can lower the HP either during battles or by choosing the Storm option during active time mode. The battles in Nobunaga's Ambition are not very impressive, even considering that the game came out on PlayStation 3 in Japan in 2013. The visuals aren't anywhere near to what you might see in any of the Total War games. I think it might be debatable whether they're even as good as some of the really old Total War games like Medieval 2. The animations are pretty awful, the terrain's textures and destructible objects are not impressive at all, and it's almost as if this part was put into the game as an afterthought. The actual gameplay that takes place during these scenes isn't very satisfying either. I just didn't have fun with it. Luckily, because battles can take place on the campaign map, you can circumvent them completely for the most part. The only ones that are somewhat interesting are the battles that take place during quests. Aside from the lackluster battles, the graphics on the main map and during cutscenes are very nice. They won't blow you away, but they get the job done, and the art style fits quite well with the gameplay. You won't find yourself wondering what something is because of poorly done art. I really like the art during the cutscenes especially. It gives off a vibe of older Japanese art mixed in with a more modern style. The soundtrack is so good. I'm not sure I can emphasize that enough. Anyone that's played a grand strategy game by Koei knows that they always have great soundtracks. This one follows that trend. Every part of the game has an orchestral arrangement accompanying it, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're in-game, busting up some fools, or just messing around the main menu, you're going to hear something beautiful. The questing system is one of the better parts of the game. They happen fairly frequently, especially if you're taking control of one of the major historical leaders. Quests give you fairly simple tasks, such as capture this city or build a fortress here. Upon completion, you're given a reward. What makes them fun is the added cutscenes, stories, and history that you learn through the quests. For example, you can take part in a famous battle as Nobunaga and cut down one of your rivals. I found questing to be very satisfying and a great addition to the game. It gives the game direction and a good reason to continue playing, even if Nobunaga is weirdly portrayed as a spoiled brat for part of it.
Well, excuse me, princess.
A nice addition to the historical officers is the ability to create your own officers. It's a system that has been present in a lot of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms games as well. You choose from a variety of different portraits and choose things like traits, tactics, a name, and more. You can even add a biography for your characters if you really want to roleplay. It's very easy to use and can be fun. The downside is that your characters obviously won't have a history within the game, and that means no cutscenes and no special quests. Instead, you'll just get random quests peppered throughout your time playing. Alright. Real mature. The big question after all of this would be, is the game fun? Well, I would say it's a pretty niche title. Not everyone's going to find moving through menus and adjusting numbers exciting. If you're a fan of the grand strategy genre, and especially if you're a fan of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, then this is a game that you should check out. It may not have a lot of the RPG elements present in some similar games, but it does have pretty solid gameplay and is a nice relaxing way to spend some time. One of the great things about this sort of game is that you don't have to be constantly fixated on it. It's the kind of game that you can play while doing other things. I wouldn't say that it's the best grand strategy game out there, but it does enough good things to be an enjoyable experience. You can buy it now on Steam and other similar platforms for around $50. I've been Melchiorus from GameClouds. Have a good night, friends.